Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone's had a lovely Christmas and enjoying a few days off. I know I certainly am making the most of it. So today, I'll just get straight on. So I've just got a session today about goal setting, really, and the things to focus on if you're in the mood of or in the mode of thinking about going on a diet. So I wanted to talk about this because, you know, it's really easy at this time of year to feel cross with yourself, feel bloated, feel overweight, and really sort of start to think about New Year and a diet and more exercise. You know, you can't escape the messages. I'm doing it. Hold my hands up. You know, you can't escape the messages all around at the moment from the sort of diet and fitness industry because it's a peak time of year for this sector. So everyone's going to jump on the bandwagon and start talking about it. But I just wanted to really sort of jump in and hopefully give you some different advice, really, and something that will really help you make better changes, because I do support people making better changes. You know, it's always better. You know, we know that not being overweight is better for our health. I know that, you know, when people exercise and move more, they feel a whole lot better. There's a lot of benefits, but it can be actually very difficult to make the changes. You know, we all know what we should be doing, but it's actually quite hard to do it. And what I'm going to talk about today is going to help to address some of those. I've got my trusty notes because I've always got my notes. I can't, you know, I don't want to miss things out, and I want to not ramble too much because I will if I don't be disciplined. But one of the first things I want to talk about is having a goal, and something there's two differences here. You can want to change because for two reasons. One, and this is probably more common, is that you don't like what you look like and how you feel at the moment, and you can come at that from a very negative point of view. I've heard people use and done it myself, use very negative language about yourself, you know, because you can be quite self-critical. We all know that. And be talking about how you feel fat, you feel horrible, worthless, you hate yourself, you hate how you feel, hate how you look, and really can have some very, very strong language that we use about ourselves. And certainly, there's no question about it that actually that annoyance, that dissatisfaction, can be a good motivator and a real motivator for people to change. Now, the other side of that is to focus more on positives and wanting to change because you want to feel better, you want to feel lighter, you want to have more energy, you want to fit into clothes and not have to buy new stuff and look at things from a much more positive point of view. And it might sound that those two things are similar, but really they're actually quite different. When you come at change from a hate position and really be very unhappy and dissatisfied with what you look like, you can be staying in a very negative place and almost putting your life on hold, that you won't be happy, you won't be nice to yourself, you won't be deserving of anything until you reach that ideal goal weight. And that's what happens if you're in a negative position. You're very much denying yourself a lot of things until you've changed. And that puts an incredible amount of pressure. And that in itself can create self-destructive behaviors that could actually get in the way of you making the changes as well. And, you know, we all know, you know, let's be realistic, you know, a 4-week miracle plan won't work. You know, so you could be in a situation between now and your ideal weight of actually being on a diet for quite a long time. And that's a very long time to be in a space where you're quite negative about yourself and how you feel. And that's really not going to help you at all make some changes. And it can be very hard to lose that sense of self-loathing and that sense of frustration. You know, that can be very real and very strong and very persistent for people. You know, you can carry that negativity around with yourselves literally 24/7. And it can be very, very difficult to sort of drop that long enough to free yourself up of that really negative way of thinking. So don't underestimate how hard that is to do, but I think it's really want to point it out to you today in this video and make you realize that it's something that is worth your time and effort to work on. You know, people at this time of year are prepared to make an awful lot of effort to go on a diet and do exercise, but you'd actually be much better off if you have a very negative mindset about yourself. you'd be much better off to spend that time and effort on making yourself feel better about yourself and taking yourself into a place of, into a place where you're more accepted and allowing yourself to be more deserving of the attention that you're going to give yourself and the things that you're going to do to improve your health. Okay, so that's just really important. Just want to draw your attention to that. And I think one of the things that you have to sort of step into when you start to make changes like that is to say that you're worth it now, and not feel like in any sense that you're putting your life on hold until you've lost this weight, that you're worth looking after now, you're worth being kind to, you're worth being happy, you're worth having the things that you want. You need to start from the minute you sort of go on a diet, you're worth those things, your happiness is worth it, right from the off, right from the word go. And again, that is really important. Be happy today, be deserving today. Learn how to put yourself first today and give yourself what you want today, rather than put everything on hold until you've reached this goal. Okay, so really, really key. So one of the things that I also want to talk about is also looking at the difference between short-term and long-term goals. So let's hypothetically say that you wanted to lose 2 stone. And I should have done some maths before I started that, but let's say that would realistically take you being very disciplined for 3 months. Okay, that's quite a long way away, and that creates quite a lot of effort, sustained effort, to get you to that end goal in the long term. All right, and I just want to talk about this from a menopausal point of view and a hormonal point of view, is that one of the things that as women we go through when we get to an age where our hormones start to change is we can lose motivation a lot faster. Okay, the hormones that create motivation to change are essentially sex hormones. So women can be less motivated. And if you're very focused on a goal that might take you 2, 3, 6 months to achieve, it's going to be very hard to stay motivated on a day-to-day basis to keep doing the things that you need to do over and over and over and over again if you're only fixated on that end goal, because you'll be putting a whole lot of effort into your life and only getting the reward or the perceived reward in 3 months. And it's very hard to stay motivated like that. So it's really important at this age group, which I'm in, to recognize that your motivation isn't always going to be something that you're going to have to take for granted. And you might need to try a few tactics to keep your motivation level high. And we're going to talk about that in the next section. So bear with me on that. And the next thing I want to talk about, which will follow on from this, is quite often people have a perception that they need to go on a diet. And a diet to them means a whole new way of eating, just literally chuck out the baby with the bathwater, stop eating all the things that they're eating because that's the problem, and go on a whole new diet plan, which might be a completely different way that you eat at the moment, completely different recipes, and a whole lot of work. And one of the things that I've noticed come up very, very regularly is that women who want to do that, when I actually sort of dig in a little bit to what they're eating now and what their current diet looks like, their meals there's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with 80% of the foods that they eat. And, we all know about the 80-20 rule. That's absolutely fine. So quite often, it's not the food that you're eating for your breakfast, lunch and tea that's the problem. The problems are other habits that you've cultivated or got into over time. Now, very common ones are eating for reasons other than being hungry. That can be boredom, that can be emotional. You can eat when you're upset, when you've got anxiety. People who are working from home, after lockdown, developed habits of just sort of standing by the fridge, just deciding what to have, because they were just bored of probably being sat on their own and not having any company. And it's that type of eating throughout the day for reasons outside of your meal that can be the biggest source of calories. That if you go on a new diet plan, you're still going to be hovering around the fridge because you're bored. You're still going to be bored. You're still going to be lonely, down, depressed, craving something, whatever it is. That's going to be still there. Equally, if you have this crazy food environment where you've got a family and the cupboards are full of crisps and biscuits and chocolates and sweets and snacks or whatever, if you've got in the habit of creating that food environment or allowing that food environment to be in your house, it's going to be whatever effort and work that you're putting into your diet and your exercise routine is going to be very, very difficult to get the benefit of if, you've got this unlimited supply of snacks just at arm's length away all the time. So the food environment that you could create can be massively influential as well on how successful you are with a diet. And, another common scenario is people don't plan. You don't know what you're going to have until that night. And by the end of the day, you're tired, you're worn out, your capacity to make a good decision is really proven to be not there anymore. So you allowing your day to conspire against you, you run out of the capacity to make good choices and you default to the easiest option, which could be cereal, a takeaway, a ready meal, I don't know, junk food, just snacking, it could be anything, So a lack of planning, a lack of having preparation and food and the right foods in your house ready for you to eat when it's mealtime and when you're hungry is another reason why people fall down. That can be one reason actually why diets work well in the short term, is because people suddenly get their act together and they know they have to plan, they know they have to buy stuff. And that's really probably one of the biggest things that's going to work very well for you when you start a diet, that you actually get yourself organised and make it able to happen. So but you can do that anyway. You don't have to have a special diet plan to do that. So that's a key thing. So don't just assume that what you're eating now there's anything wrong with. And this was come read my own handwriting. What I do want to say is that what does make a difference from a weight loss point of view is how many calories you're eating, because people often say, well, should I go low carb, should I go low fat, and really my answer to that is always about you, what you most enjoy and what you naturally can live with and eat like. Certainly from a menopausal point of view and a hormonal perspective, you have to make sure you're eating food that you really enjoy. End of story. If you're not getting enough pleasure and reward from the effort that you're putting into the diet in the form of enjoying the food, you will not be able to carry on and continue with it. So you absolutely have to make sure that you enjoy what you're having. That's my biggest rule. And certainly, if you really love rice, potatoes, pasta, going on a low carb diet is something that you are going to really struggle with. If you don't really have much of a sweet tooth and you're sort of a meat and two veg person, then a low carb diet could work fantastically well for you. So it's really about being able to find a way of eating that allows you to have less calories, but that you really enjoy. That's absolutely key. So don't get too hung up about whether there's a secret formula for the right type of diet, because really there isn't. You can lose weight, just if you're at McDonald's every day, and I certainly don't advocate that. But, you can lose weight with any different type of diets. What people struggle with is actually being able to stick to something, and often because they create too many strict rules around what they should or shouldn't be eating food-wise. And that's when it becomes very difficult to sustain that, because you create excessive rules that are just not sustainable. You can't live with. So that's conversation about diet versus habits. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is, again, quite often we set a goal, we think we've got to lose 2 stone, let's say, and that's what we really focus on. The goal is just one thing. What you really have to think about is, and this is where you'll be the difference between successful or not, you have to focus more on the small daily habits that are going to get you to that goal, because it's doing small things consistently and repeatedly that is going to get you over the line. So instead of thinking in 3 months I'll be 2 stone lighter, and that's what you focus on, you have to think, well, today I need to plan my food. I need to, I need to have worked out what my calories are for today. I have to go for a walk. You would be much better off creating a little chart and sticking it in your kitchen that gives you a tick list of the key habits that you need to do each day that you're going to be able to do, rinse and repeat, day in, day out for 3 months, that is what's going to get you to your goal. So, and that is the biggest thing. And this is really where people forget about the consistency. And I'm going to tell you why that people struggle with consistency. And again, you know, I'm going to put a menopause slant on it, because I think that's just sort of really relevant for the people that I know listen to me. One of the ways that you have to put an awful lot of effort into going on a diet, okay? So eating different food, finding time to put more exercise into your week and into your day. Now, when you only focus on that long-term goal, like that 2 stone goal, say, let's make it up. Imagine you spend a couple of hours at the weekend, you spend an hour each day out and doing exercise. That's a whole lot of effort. You know, you can have a great week. You can do all the things that you're supposed to do, have early nights, get your exercise in, eat the right food. You get to the end of the week, you've lost a pound. Okay, that can be, or maybe sometimes nothing, because that happens too. And then you're still in that mind that I'm 2 stone away from where I need to be. I've put all this effort in and I'm still the same. I can't look in the mirror. I'm still as unhappy with myself as I was yesterday or last week. Nothing or not enough has changed to justify the amount of effort that you put in. When you get yourself in that cycle, you are not going to make the effort to do the work that you need to do, because the effort and the payoff are too far away. The payoff is in 3 months down the line. The effort is today. And your brain doesn't like that. It doesn't want to work like that. It wants to put effort in, and it wants immediate gratification for that effort. And that's a genuine phenomenon that we have to learn to deal with. So one of the ways around that is to create a habit sheet and actually get into the habit of filling in a habit sheet, and you start to build up a streak over time of all the things that you do each day that are going to get you towards your goal. So then your reward for going on that walk is a tick in the box. And then, you build up your ticks in that box across a week, across a month, whatever it would be. Your reward for having, making a packed lunch and taking it to work, so you don't eat sandwiches and coffee and a cake when you're in the queue for Costa, is a tick in a box, and that's your reward. So you actually start to build up a streak of small wins every day, and being aware of those and starting to celebrate those. That's really important. And again, when again with this sort of whole hormone thing, you can be in a real roller coaster of emotions. One day you can feel on top of the world, everything's great. The next day you're absolutely locked in brain fog. You can't see the wood from the trees. Your life's just a mess, a shambles all around you. Menopausal women can be really in that mode. And this is one where I've found that having that daily tick list of things is really helpful, because you can have a day where you feel like nothing is any point. It's all a waste of time. I hate myself. I hate feeling like this. I'm too tired. I'm too worn out. And you forget about all the things that you've done the previous week, and you go back to zero. When you have a chart on your wall with a tick sheet, on those really tough, bad days, you can go back in, you can just glance at your kitchen, you can see that list, and you know that this is a bad day. And actually, this one tough day will not discount previous week's worth or 10 days worth of good things that you've done there. And that, I think, for women of our age is so, so valuable, and helps you get off that roller coaster of days feeling very, very different, and your motivation levels and your sort of optimism and your hope feeling very, very different from one day to the next. So that is really, really valuable. So just to summarize, really, the key takeouts here are to really focus on making sure you're focused on positive things, and you're being kind to yourself from day one of being on a diet. You can't come at a diet successfully from a point of self-loathing and hating where you are now. You really need to do the work on that to try and make sure that you're deserving of giving yourself healthy things. Secondly, you have to look beyond. You have to be honest and look at the habits that you've got, and the habits that are doing your efforts, And that might be the way what your family want to eat. It could be the way your kitchen's organised. It could be, you know, you're eating for emotional reasons. You have to look at addressing those. Really, just going on a new diet, following a new diet sheet isn't going to change all of those things. You have to look at that yourself and do the work there. And thirdly, you know, once you know the habits that you need to change, to maybe do a shopping plan every week, to only buy food that you need, to make sure all the stuff that you don't want to eat is locked away and out of sight, to make a packed lunch, to find time for a walk every day. You know, create that little sheet in your kitchen, put it somewhere really visible, and celebrate doing as many of those things as you can that are going to make the difference every day. And keep looking back on that, because that's when you'll see the progress. And if you start to celebrate your daily wins on a day-by-day basis and allow yourself to feel really motivated by what you're doing each day, that's going to be the key to making all of those things add up and make the big changes happen further down the line. Okay, so hope that helps you. Hope that gives you some ideas and some inspiration for how to make your diet work this year, if that's what you're planning next year, even if that's what you're planning for 2022. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll very happily answer them for you. And if there's anything you want me to cover on any of these videos, by all means, you can always ask me. I do have a free Facebook group. So this recording will go into my free Facebook group, which is, I think, is Live Better After 40. So you can drop me a line if you can't find that, but do join that, and you'll get things like the habit checker in there, planning templates, all sorts of useful things that can help you put into practice some of the things I've talked about today. Okay, that's me done. Have a wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. All right, take care. And end.